Hey Hearties, it's your girl Brian here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mo's Amaze Baby. I appreciate all of you for your love and support that you've shown me on my new journey in my next chapter of my life, living after retirement. So yesterday I went out to the farmer's market, and this is the corn that I got. And I already shucked this corn, and I'm going to just cut it off the cob because I was in the mood for some comfort food. Like I said, there seemed like there's been a lot of things going on, and I'm really wanting comfort food. And my comfort food that I can remember is my mom's fried corn. Although I don't know how to fry it, I'll put it in the oven and let it bake. So right now, I'm just going to put the corn in here, and I got a dish towel underneath my bowl to keep it from moving around as I cut off these kernels. And what I like to do after I cut off the kernels, and my mom used to do this, so she would take the knife and she would run across it just to get all the cream out of it too. Like I said, my mom was from Florida, down south, and so she was a good cook. You know, we had all these southern meals when I was growing up. So to me, this is comfort. And so I'm going to make that today with some cabbage. I'm going to make enough for my son too, because he's working a lot right now. And I'm going to make some for his family. And I'm going to make some Charlie Mae's biscuits, some cabbage. And I don't eat a lot of fried chicken. I don't cook a lot of fried chicken. But today, we're going to have some buttermilk fried chicken. So, I thank you for tuning in to me. And I'm going to finish cutting up this corn. And then I will get back to you. So this is what the corn is looking like when it's been cut off the cob. And, your girl had to take some breaks. That's what I was saying, it's all about, making it work for you. And so I've got some bacon right here that I'm going to put in the oven. And once that bacon cooks down, then I'm going to add my corn. So while my bacon is in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the corn fixed up. I'm going to just put a little bit of sugar. Because like I said, this corn is usually pretty sweet. So I'm just going to put in a fourth of a cup of sugar. And my mom didn't have a recipe for this. She just did stuff how it looked and felt. So I don't really have a recipe for this, but I'm going to use a half a cup of flour. And I like using Pillsbury's or gold medal flour, especially when I'm frying stuff, because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with. I like a lot of Great Value products, but especially when you're frying with it, it seems like it browns really, really fast. So it might be good for something like this, but to fry, it burns really fast. So and that bacon grease is going to help this give it a little bit of moisture as well. So I'm going to take some garlic, salt, and pepper. And there's a lot of corn in here, so I'm going to be generous with my seasonings. My garlic, salt, and pepper. And I'm going to put in a little bit of the Himalayan salt. And then this is going to cook in the oven for about an hour. So And while that's happening, I'm gonna go ahead and start on my cabbage. Like my mom used to make this dish when we were kids, and like I said, it was like one of the best comfort meals. And she made her biscuits with it, and she always either had fried chicken or fried pork chops. And today I'm gonna do some chicken. But so when I tell you, mine is gonna go in the ovens. But my mom had this pan, and when I tell you, it was Kitty Wonka's. It was not level, and I mean, she probably had that thing for years. So when I tell you it was well seasoned, it was seasoned, and it made the best fried corn. And when, and so as I got older, I'm just like, I asked my older sister, I'm like, how did mama make that fried corn? And she said, I can't even make the fried corn like mama did. I usually put mine in the oven. So generally now I haven't made it in a long time though. I haven't made it in a long time. And so I usually did it in the oven like she told me to, because we could never master what mom did. That old southern lady, little old southern lady at that, probably was about 4'8". I'm tall compared to her. Yes, I am. But my dad was like 6'5", 6'7". So I'm somewhere in between. But those were some of the best meals, I tell you. Coming from that little Kitty Wonka's frying pan. She could have afforded her a new pan, I'm sure. But that pan, as I say, was probably seasoned, and it cooked just like she liked it, and she knew how to work with it. And when as you know, it's good to invest in some good pots and pans and things like that, especially if you enjoy cooking, because you're definitely going to get your money out of it. I'm not saying go out and spend $300-400, but you can get a nice set for around $100. That's going to be decent and last for a long time, and it's going to cook well. So, but just remember, I had bought one of my nieces. She moved into her first apartment, so I had bought her some kitchen stuff, cause I'm a kitchen girl. And when I had bought her the Pioneer Woman non-stick set, and I had bought her one of the sponges with the scrubby on it. This young lady had used one of those Brillo pads, the metal Brillo pads, scouring pads, and she had scuffed up the inside of that pan. I was just like, oh my gosh, what did you do? She was like, oh, I was just trying to get it clean. I'm like, that's why I gave you the sponge. So listen, just get those little yellow sponges with the green backing to it, and most of the time, the little stuck on stuff just comes right out. You have to take care of your products so that they last a long time for you. Because as it was now, that pot set was no good anymore, so she had to go out and get her another pot set. So while my bacon is cooking, I've got my corn already ready, and so we'll move on. So I just got this bacon out of the oven, and it's still hot. So I'm going to try and get this in. Not spilling anything.
Your health deserves more than guesswork. At Carnuvo, our whole body MRI scans for hundreds of conditions without any radiation, including cancers as early as stage 1 in as little as 60 minutes. A Carnuvo scan can deliver life-changing clarity and peace of mind. Your detailed results will contain easy-to-understand insights so you can have unparalleled access to your health. 130,000 scans and counting. Book your Carnuvo scan today. Learn more at carnuvo.com.
Is it anything I know? No wrong way. As long as it's your way. It'll be simple. Flashy. Sometimes right there. How about that? All customers get a profit boost every NFL game day.
sir, is like a subscription for peace of mind. When a covered system breaks, listen to qualified contractor and pay for the repair.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
I'll stir it all up. And they're really, really good. And I'm going to add 2 sticks of butter. This is not one of my healthy meal choices, and the girl got to get back on it. But sometimes, you know, you just feel like going on out, I guess. Comfort food. So, I'm putting in 2 sticks of butter. This is going to bake in the oven for about an hour. And in between there, I'm gonna be stirring it up so that all the butter gets in, really, really good, and everything. So, you know, you can't rush when you're cooking, because then our food is not gonna come out right. Trust and believe. It is not going to. It's going to be good. I had my son-in-law here with me, unfortunately, when they came up to visit the 1 year. He had got a DWI, so he has been staying with me until he's able to go back with his family. So, but he's gonna enjoy this delicious meal today. And I tell you, I don't know what I'm gonna do without him. He's been such a big help to me, keeping the lawn done and everything. And he also, even when they weren't living here, you know, he would come by my house in the winter months when I was working, and I worked the midnight shift, so he would shovel out my driveway, make sure it was okay for me when I went to work. And every once in a while during the week, he would pop in, check on the trash. If it looked like it was full, he'd take it out. And even on trash day, he would drive over in the morning on his way to work, mind you, and pull my garbage cans to the road. And on his way back home, then he would return my garbage cans. And when I tell you the love I have for this young man, he's just like a son of mine, you know. And I was told that behind my back he calls me Ma. He's never done it to my face. I'm not understanding why, because I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I know that he never calls me. I noticed he never calls me by my name. Let me fix this camera just a little bit. He never calls me by name. He always just, hey. Even if he called me, hey, you want it? Do you need something? Do you want something? You know, so he was here with me too when I had the surgery for my shoulder as well. And but he never ever calls me by name. And so I can remember the one time though, and he was a little tipsy. This was right after my sister Jeanette's repast, and we were all at her son's house. And he was in walking distance, so I walked down because I planned on getting tipsy myself that day because that was a very, very hard time for me. And I was putting my boots on because it was in the wintertime, and here he is trying to help me put my boots on. And the whole time, and he's just kissing me all over my face and stuff, talking about some, this is my girl right here, I love her, I love her, I love her. And you know what, I love him as well too. So, you know, like I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do when he leaves, but I'm sure I'll manage. But you know, he's been such a big help to me, you know, so. And I love him just like he was my son. And I'm like, who knew when I met him? And it's been like, what, the twins are 24, like 25 years, 26 years now that I've known this young man. And I can remember when he first started coming around, and I would always cook those big meals. Everybody was still home, and he would be like, oh my gosh, your mom needs to, he would tell my daughter, she needs to open a restaurant, she needs to open a restaurant. And then we would go out to eat, and he would, oh my God, he would be so unhappy, oh my gosh, we could have just stayed home, we could have cooked at home. And I'm thinking, we could have cooked at home when you start cooking. But that's just a little, one of my little funny stories about my son-in-law, and I love him. Yes, I do, and I don't even call him by his name anymore. The one day he came over, and I was in my room sleeping, and I'm like, "Who is that?" And he was just like, "Cause all the kids got keys to my house, including them." And he would be like, and so he was like, "It's me." And he was saying his name. I'm like, "Who?" And he goes, "It's me, son-in-law." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, so if any you know me, that's my son. That's son-in-law. I never ever say his name anymore. It's always son-in-law. So now we're gonna just wait until that gets done, and I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and then I'm gonna start working on my cabbage. So this big boy I got from Rush's Farm Market yesterday. They actually told me they had a cabbage that weighed in at like 25 pounds. I don't even know how to start tackling this big boy. But here I go. I'm gonna break her down. So, like I said, I grew up in the country, and we were always surrounded by fields and fields of fruits and vegetables and things like that. And I can remember when I got married, my ex was actually in the military at that time, and we had our first child, so I wasn't really um, working at that time. So when we decided to get married, I got a job. We got married in the summer months, and I had actually got a job setting cabbage plants to pay for his ring. The rest of my wedding, my dad paid for it. So, but um, he was a trooper. Yeah, when he found out I was getting married, he was just like, "Well, let's go." First, he was just like, I was just like, "We're just gonna have something small," because at the time I had already had my daughter, and so I'm like, I just want something small in the backyard. At that time, my sister and my cousins were living next door to each other, and I just wanted something in their backyard. But my dad said when he found out, he was just like, "No, you should. I want you to have a nice wedding. There's a lot of people watch you grow up. Would love to see you get married." And so my cousin, a little bit, Elizabeth, her name, but they called her a little bit. She had was getting married, and so my dad was just like, "I bet she's gonna have on a wedding dress as well." And so I said, "Well, Dad, if she has a wedding dress, then of course I'll get a wedding dress as well, because up until that point I had picked out, it was a white dress, but it was just like a prom dress, and some things that I had picked out. But once he found out about it, it was just a whole different ordeal. And so of course a little bit had on her wedding dress, and I got my garbage bag is full. So let me get another bag out really quick. So she actually had her a nice wedding dress. We were at the wedding. So I told my dad, "Okay, yes, then I will go ahead and I will get a wedding dress." So he took me to the bridal shop, and he says, "You can have any dress in here that you would like, that you like." He didn't say cost, price, or anything. He just was like, "You can have any dress in here that you want." And me being me, I'm like, I'm not gonna have my dad spend um, a whole ton of money on a dress that I'm just gonna have on for a couple hours and only wear one time. So I've always been responsible in that way. So I went right to the clearance section and found a beautiful dress to wear. And I actually still have that photo of us at our wedding with my mom and dad on there. Maybe I might have to link that in one day and show those pictures. But yeah, so I didn't wanna I didn't want my dad to pay for his ring. So I ended up working in the cabbage plant that year. And I met a lot of nice ladies that my last day that I was there, they actually had made a cake and stuff for me. And I did not know those ladies um, before I'd start working there. I had never met those ladies, but they were so kind to get me a congratulations cake. And because we ended up moving to California after I got married, I ended up, he was, like I said, he was in the military. He was stationed out in California. So we ended up moving there. And actually, my oldest son was born in California. So he likes to say that, oh, I was born in California. But he was almost, he was a little, I don't think he was a year old when we moved back. Yeah, he was a year old when we moved back home. So he doesn't know a whole lot about California, but he always likes to say that I was born in California in Fort Ord Hospital. And it's strange. I still know the address to the place we used to live, 2039 17th Regiment Court, Fort Ord, California. And that's been, oh my God, years ago, lots and lots of years ago, that at least Shamika's about 40 years ago. I still remember that address. It rained a lot there, though. We were close to Monterey Bay and Salinas. If anybody knows anything about that area, and it was close to um, Marina and Seaside. But it rains a lot. But they were nice apartments, though, that were on the base. They were nice, very nice apartments. We had, in the beginning, though, we didn't live on base. We actually lived off base until he could get on base. And boy, was those some tough times financially, because he was the only one working. I did get a job, but I don't think he really wanted me to work. That was one of our issues. And I'm like, I'm an able body. I did work for a little while at the Burger King down there, and I love working. I love helping my family out and stuff. So, but but sometimes as the years are going on, I'm like, oh my gosh, why do I got to work? I should have been listening to him back then, and I could have still been a stay-at-home mom probably. But yeah, but it was a very nice place. But like I said, it was far away from home, and at that time, I had never really lived apart from my mom, and I had never had my own place. So cooking, anytime I wanted some to know how to cook something, I had to call my mom and say, "Hey, mom, how do I cook this? How do I make that?" And any special requests that he had, especially around the holiday times. I had never cooked a turkey before. I had never made dressing. I knew how to make breakfast food, and I did take a couple of home ec classes um throughout my years in school, but nothing for that type of cooking, for a family. But I made it work. I learned a lot of stuff. You know, I learned I would make up little recipes as I went along. I didn't have a lot of cookbooks and stuff, and I just, made up a lot of things as I went along. Now, bacon, my dad was so funny because you know, he would have my niece bake cookies and send them to me. And I'm like, Dad, I know how to make cookies. But I didn't tell him that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I tell you, I had some very supportive parents because when I was pregnant with Marcel, my mom came to visit us to help me out for a while. She stayed like a month, and my dad would say, "I'm gonna send your mom down there," and they decided to send her on my due date because they say babies never come on their due dates. Well, guess what? He came on his due date. And that kid moves around so slow today sometimes. I'm like, oh my God. But I guess he's right on time because, and when I would go to my doctor's appointments and stuff, they would always be like, oh, they were like, oh, so we're gonna probably check you out the next time you come in because we feel contractions and we're not sure why you haven't gone into labor yet. But he actually came um, that day. By the time actually they picked my mom up from the airport and got back, I had Marcel. When I tell you that was the fastest delivery in history, and so I don't know if you know anything about the military families. They're very tight knit. So he had left a message for his supervisor, his captain, that if I went, because I went across the street to a neighbor's house, because there was no way I could go because once I got up, I had a showing, and so I was at my friend's house across the street, and his captain was supposed to come and get me when I felt like I needed to go to the hospital. But she called her husband, and they let him out of work, and he comes. He was so protective of me. They actually thought that he was the baby's dad. So when I looked at the paperwork, I saw they had his last name down there. I'm thinking, oh no, let's just fix that. And when I tell you, by the time I got there, I was there more than 15 minutes before I was in the delivery room. And the doctor was like, "You're the best pusher I've ever seen." So when and as he was coming out, my stomach got really really flat and it got really really dark, and you could barely tell that I was even pregnant. And but he was a big baby. He was 8 pounds and 10 ounces. So that's just a little bit of history about my son, and now he's in Palm Beach with his daughter, and he has 2 kids. So they were here for this weekend, so I got to see them, and that was good. I actually that's a little girl I was babysitting for like last year and a half when I first retired, and I actually stayed with him for about 2 months when he moved down. So it was good seeing her. I know she was happy to see me because she kept hugging me and stuff, and she calls me all the time. And so right now I'm just gonna go and watch this cabbage at the sink, and we'll be right back. we'll be back with you. And she was the one who had her daughter had a baby shower last Saturday, and she saw my videos, one of my videos, and she called me, and she was just like, "Girl, you out here doing your thing. I want to do it. I want to do it. You're gonna have to help me do it." And I said, "I don't know a lot, Auntie, but whatever I know, I can definitely show you, because that's what it's all about, helping other people. You know, I'm just trying to have fun and enjoy the rest of my time that I have here. I don't want any drama. I want peace. I don't want any negativity in my life. I'm not trying to cause it for anybody else either. I just want to be at peace in the world full of chaos. So if that's what you're looking for, then you definitely will like watching my little channel here, because I like to laugh and have a lot of fun, and I'm not looking to hurt anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. And if I do happen to upset somebody, please, I apologize. That, oops, was definitely not my intentions. Definitely not my intention. It smells delicious. Only if these cameras could pick up smell. My. Once you put those peppers and onions in it too, it smells absolutely delicious. Got to make sure I get it from all the way at the bottom, so nothing sticks. So nothing sticks. I'm gonna grab me some of my chicken bouillon at this point. I got a little bit of this left. Better than bouillon. I really, really like cooking with this. It gives the food that real homemade chicken broth taste when you use this. So now we're just gonna let this cook down for a little bit, and then you can see it right here. I'm just gonna let this cook down. I think I got another long spoon too. I am going to rinse out this little jar, put some water in here, and get the rest of that little broth out of here. Waste not, want not. Get the last of that little broth out of there. So we're gonna let this cook down. So I've already gone ahead and mixed my flour, baking powder, baking soda, sugar together, and I have butter flavored Crisco. With this recipe, if you use butter flavored Crisco, you shouldn't use salt, or otherwise it's going to be too salty. And then I'm just using my pastry blender to get it all into little crumbles. And then I just have to add my buttermilk to it. And biscuits will be in the oven as soon as that corn is finished. So all I have to do now is add my 2 cups of buttermilk. And, it's always really good to give things a nice good shake
so that anything that has settled down at the bottom will get all mixed in there. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and make my put in my milk 1 cup at a time, as I'm going to be doubling this recipe because my son's also gonna have dinner with us tonight as well. So these are my Sister Charlie Mae's biscuits, and I can remember years and years and years ago, I used to do everyone's hair, and my sister Charlie, when I did her hair or her children's hair, she'd always repay me with something homemade cooked. And so she used to make these biscuits for me with a chicken pot pie gravy. And my children loved it so much that I actually had to have her show me how to make them. And right now I'm just mixing and getting everything combined together, and making sure everything's wet. You don't want to have dry spots in your batter. And so she used to, if you're new to my channel here, Charlie Mae is my oldest sibling, and she was a very good cook. She ended up going to culinary school after she was an adult because where she was working at Fisher Price, it had shut down, so they had to be retrained, and that's what she did. Her and her daughter ended up going to the culinary school, and they were already great cooks, but and she showed me a lot of things while I was growing up or maturing, with my own children. And so my kids really, really like these homemade biscuits with, she used to use her chicken gravy, and it's not like your typical chicken gravy. It's got like what you would consider gravy. It has like chicken breasts that were marinated in the chicken bouillon, and then they were baked in the oven, and you chop those up and mixed in cream of chicken soup with some peas and carrots and corn. And when it was all done, you take a couple biscuits and put that on top and made a beautiful gravy for it. If you stay tuned, I'm sure you will see me make that in the future, because like I said, it's a lot. It makes quite a bit, but it's so good and it's delicious, and my kids really, really love it, as well as they love these biscuits. I remember my brother Freddie came over, and I had made some of this. He was just like, you got to show me how to make these biscuits. And so I was telling him, you got to go and get a pastry blender and, get you some buttermilk. And like the first time he made it, though, I think the buttermilk had expired. And so, of course, he brought some up for me to taste. And he was just like, mine don't exactly taste like yours. And I had tried to tell him before, well, brother, I don't think you should use that same buttermilk if it's, outdated. You don't get the same taste, when things aren't fresh. And so he had to learn that the hard way. And of course, when he said to me, when he brought me the biscuits, he was like, what did I do wrong? They don't taste as well as yours. And I'm like, they taste fine, except for, the buttermilk was expired. If you're going to make them, just because you haven't opened the bottle, it would be best to just go ahead and get some fresh buttermilk. And of course he did, and ever since then, he's been able to make his own homemade biscuits. I'm not sure that he eats it with the gravy, but it's just him. So he actually takes his biscuits and he can freeze them so that they last quite a while for him in the freezer. And so he can just pull a couple out whenever he wants them so that he can enjoy them for a longer period of time without having to make another batch. And they freeze really, really well too. And now we're just gonna put them in the oven. So when you put them on the cookie sheet, you got to make sure that they're touching, and I had him get a cookie scoop, like my sister taught me, so that they all come out the same size, and so that way they all cook at the same rate, and some are done and some are burnt, because you don't really want that. So you want everything to cook evenly. So you got to use those cookie scoops to make sure you measure properly and put them in the oven. But once you get them on the cookie sheet, make sure they're touching. I know my friend Teresa, when she had FaceTimed me when she was making some, and I was like, okay, now just put them close. You sure you don't leave any space? Nope. These ones, you just leave them right next to each other so that, believe it or not, they still spread out, and they are very, very moist and delicious biscuit. And you can eat them with other things besides the pot pie. Like I said, today I'm having it with my meal with this homemade corn that my mom always made for us when we were growing up, in her wonky frying pan, and she would I'm not sure these are the same biscuits, but she always made homemade biscuits as well, and it's nothing better than homemade. Some of this chicken in a Dutch oven. I like to use a Dutch oven because it holds quite a bit of oil, and that way the chicken can have a lot of room to move around. Don't forget, I have marinated this chicken in buttermilk, and now it's floating around, and I'll give it a few more seconds as I turn it around. Like I said before, I like to use either Wesson or Crisco oil because the cheaper versions, they seem to burn a lot quicker, and yeah, so so here I have my my flour that I've seasoned up with that chicken seasoning that I had got from Georgia. I can't find that around here, so either I would have to get it again when I go down to Georgia, or check and see if they have it on Amazon. But your girl always goes down for the winter months to Georgia, so I'm sure I can be able to grab me some more while I'm down there. And I like to take the chicken and put it in a container that has enough room to hold quite a bit of flour, and you can take it and right now I'm just going to shake it up and make sure all the chicken is coated evenly and everything. Shake it up really, really good. Some people like to use a brown paper bag, but I don't have any bags at this time. And so I'm going to check on my cabbages and make sure they get all stirred up really, really good. And, towards the end of my cooking time, I like to add some butter to my cabbage. It's good to add a little bit of stuff at a time so that every step of the way your food gets seasoned. You don't want to add in everything at one time because the taste of everything is going to just cook out. But I find that when you add just a little bit stuff at a time, you keep building those layers of flavors, and that's what you want. That's what's involved in home cooking, showing that love and taking your time, not rushing through your food, because you can tell food that has been prepared with love. And I think anybody can be a great cook. You just have to take your time and not rush through your food, and have fun with it. Make it your own dish. And I really enjoy cooking. And it when people taste your food and it's delicious, it makes me feel good to know that I've made somebody else happy just by some food that I've cooked. Turn on some music and, just have a good. And I tell y'all, I'm still frying chicken, but this chicken is coming out so beautifully. Son-in-law already had him a plate, and these few pieces are I'm almost done. Whew. It takes a minute to fry some chicken. You're not just in and out of the kitchen, so you might as well sit down in between time while you waiting, cause it's gonna be a minute. Look at that chicken. This is all the chicken I've been frying. Ooh, it's been taking me for at least an hour to fry all this chicken out. I still got just a couple more pieces to do, and your girl will be done for the day. Then we're gonna sit down and have ourselves a nice dinner. Yes, we are. Hey Hardee's, your girl is finally finished, and I'm gonna sit down and enjoy this nice meal. And look at that chicken, cabbage, homemade biscuit, and my fried oven corn. And it all looks so delicious. And you know what I always say, there's a place for you at my table. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Mo's Amaze Baby. Please, if you're liking my vibe, please like and subscribe. And until next time, never let them steal your joy, and let's just live our best life. Peace.